Welcome back. This is Daybreak. We carry on with our paper review with religious leaders here today on a symbolic day being the National Prayer Breakfast, and we'll be crossing over there shortly to give you some updates as the president and about 3,000 Kenyans will congregate there to talk about the spiritual foundation of this country and what needs to be done to make life better for the ordinary Kenyan. At least that's what we hope will be happening there. Nevertheless, we want to take a look at another story in the paper. World Bank approves 75 billion Kenya shilling loan, further raising the country's debt. And the leaders here actually have some thoughts about that. And Sheikh, I'll start with you. Let me get your thoughts on this. When you hear another loan, does that fill you with joy? Thinking about all the things that have been promised: enhanced competition, market transparency, reducing corruption, agriculture, help Kenyan farmers, the Big Four agenda. What comes to mind, Sheikh?
You know, this is not the first time we are talking about debts, and I don't see any, you know, if we were going for debts and then we see improvement, the effect of that debt trickle down to the people down there, then I would say it's good. Because in life, it's okay sometimes to borrow, but why are you borrowing that money? How is it going to be? Going by experience, I'm worried because I know even the unborn children are going to bear this debt because it's the taxpayer who is going to pay this debt. I'm very worried about how we manage money that we borrow from outside there. So this fills me with a lot of worries. Where are we heading to as a country? Are we not able to manage our economy and the rest? So I'm very worried.
Very worried by that. Okay, what are your thoughts?
Yes, I'll agree with my brother. You know, we have so many resources in our country. We can use it properly. Then there is no need for any loans from outside, isn't it? You know, I think the politicians, they have to have, you know, we have we say in our religion, so we have 6 enemies within us. We have to control that one. We'll say that, I'll say in Sanskrit, then I will translate. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. There's 6 enemies. Kama is the desire. You know, if you have the desire, yes, I want everything. Greed. And you know, the greed, yeah. Krodha, you know, you have that proud, yes, I am this leader. You know? Lobha, no, everything is mine. It is mine, you know. We have to share with others. Whatever we have to share, we have to enjoy everything. So these politicians, if they change, then I think there is no need to borrow the money from other countries.
Will they change?
Maybe slowly.
Maybe slowly.
Slowly, yes.
Wenga, honestly, when it comes to I saw this and I was a bit worried. As my brother said, going by our past history, I saw a video the other day of a politician in one of the countries went shopping for some gold items or some very expensive, and the way the money was being chucked. And when I look on our roads, the issue of the VIP and who should overtake on the traffic, sometimes I wonder, is everyone a VIP in this country? Because everyone has an entourage. So when you look at our expenditure, the truth is this: we behave as if we have everything. I've gone to a country the other day, I visited one country, and I was surprised to see the vice president actually on the highway with people. I was like, really? And I look at how our VIPs carry themselves around here with a team of 20, 50. A guy sits and you can see all men in black suits waiting for one person. I'm like, really, do we need this? And so I see another rebuke by Haggai in verse 1:6 of Haggai. It says, you have planted much, but have harvested little. You eat, but never have enough. You drink, but never have your fill. You put on clothes, but you are not warm. You earn wages only to put them in a purse with holes in it. How comes we keep borrowing? Is there holes in Kenya that when we put our money, keeps going, drops there? We need to again review ourselves and ask, could it be that we are bad managers? Are we prudent managers of our resources? One of the things that I strongly believe, leadership, everything rises and falls on leadership. And as we call ourselves to a national prayer breakfast, is it possible to ask ourselves, the last borrowings we've done, can we call ourselves to book and say, we took this amount? I like when the president there was in Mombasa for a lab interview, and I saw the journalists in that very privileged interview ask some very hard question. Tell us, how much are we indebted? And for the first time, I noticed that the president got a bit edgy. It was like, you will see that this will work. But I'm like, really, just answer the simple question of.
And so you want the media to keep asking.
Exactly, we need to ask the hard question.
When they get the opportunity.
Exactly. When will we say, now at least we borrowed enough? You can look at this now. I had very beautiful reasons there why we are borrowing.
Yeah, yes, there's quite a list.
Why did the same reasons we borrowed for last time?
Right.
The last Eurobond. What has happened? Where did the Eurobond? So there are issues we must ask ourselves.
And this 75 billion Kenyan shillings loan that has been approved by World Bank just comes weeks after another Eurobond, 210 billion Kenyan shillings. Sheikh, let me come back to you. So we are saying young people are unemployed, yet the same politicians who are approving these loans and going for them, their salaries have increased, their car loans, their house mortgages, etc.
Don't go there.
I mean, fine, getting a loan is not a problem, but at this point in time, the sort of environment that they are going to borrow a loan, the sort of environment that they're increasing their salaries, when the common mwananchi, unga prices are up, oil prices are up.
Job layoffs.
Job layoffs, thank you, unemployment for young people. Is it, as what she said, pure greed?
Mismanagement and also pure greed, because it confuses the common mwananchi that on one hand we are borrowing, on the other hand we have here leaders who are asking to be paid more. The cost of managing the people we pay from our taxpayers, the salaries that they earn. Why don't we think about cutting down on the cost? We have countries, a country like Japan, these are the world leaders in the motor vehicle industry. But just go there and see how their leaders behave. You find a minister driving a Suzuki 800cc. We have these the gas guzzlers that are moving around with that and entourage all over. I think we are living a contradiction. But Wahiga, when we sit down and point a finger at our leaders, I ask myself this: are we being honest? Because Reverend, leaders don't put themselves into leadership. We put them there. Sure. So we are to blame, actually.
As voters.
As voters, we are the people. Come after 5 years, 2022, we'll vote for people. Not because they are good managers, we think they are good managers of our finances or our affairs. It's just because who comes from my tribe and who will help me now eat meat rather than salivate. That is a problem. So we are to blame at the end of the day. And what I'll tell Kenyans here, Kenyans who are watching this program, is this: we are to blame. After 5 years, we are going to have another opportunity to choose leaders. If we feel these leaders have failed us, we have an opportunity to change them. And it's the high time now we stop electing people because they come from my tribe. It's the track record and what can you do for the common mwananchi, because we cannot continue like this. It has to stop somewhere. And Wahiga, we can talk of prayer. Prayer without action, nothing. God will only help people who help themselves. Even Moses, when he had a problem crossing the Red Sea with the children of Israel, this is in the Quran and in the Bible, God performed a miracle through the prayer of Moses. But he had to ask Moses to do something. No matter how little, then God will do the rest. So as Kenyans, let us pray. We need God's intervention, but we need action also as people.
Before we get your thoughts on the National Prayer Breakfast, just a really quick one, and this one is for you, Reverend, because statistics show in terms of our population, Christians are majority in Kenya. If that is the case, if Christians are majority in Kenya, why is it not being reflected in our society, in our politicians, and so forth? If we are saying that truly 80% of the populations are Christian, should we not be more Christ-like? Our politicians, should they not be that? The same politicians who are there on Sundays dishing out money and giving speeches in churches? Why is that not the case?
I think the truth is, I spoke somewhere this Sunday and I was telling people, we reached a point whereby we are happy for information. We want information for conversation. But really do want information for transformation and reformation. Yes, we are a majority, as the statistics are true, and rightly so. We call ourselves a Christian nation. Going by our names, you can even tell many Josephs. And I feel bad sometimes when I see Mary. Joseph has raped Mary. Like the papers, and at that point I asked, where is the transformation in our message? And as a believer and as a minister of the word, I must ask the question: is there a break? Is there what is called a communication break of what transformation the gospel brings? Because if we cannot see a transformed lives, then we must ask ourselves: are we repeating the same thing and expecting different results? And that makes me harsh as a preacher sometimes. And if you heard me quoting Haggai, he preached at a time when the children of Israel had decided to just forsake apostasy and every kind of walking away from the faith. And I believe this is a season where we need the prophets of God to call out and say, guys, we can't live sinful lives. The same people you are saying will come to church and will give the X millions who are believers, and we can't question them. If you had the other day the Archbishop of the Anglican Church coming out very clearly and was saying, friends, we need to ask ourselves as a church, we will continue receiving this donation because we are needy. And so yes, there's a problem in our country, even from the pulpit. And sometimes, like you said, our lives do not reflect our message. So I stand here and I'll sound very righteous, but when you monitor me, you realize this
Something
guy
else is happening in the background.
is just a job. I'm over and done just doing religion. Friends, we need to ask ourselves that transformation. That for me is my cry for our country, that we must call ourselves, even as a church, our congregants, and ask our people, how are our lifestyles? And it is time that we actually would actually sit down and call ourselves. I look in the book of Acts, where if you look at the book, Acts chapter 2, verse 42, there was very, very clear action that he talked about after the gospel was preached. When the 3,000 got saved, when Peter preached, they said everyone brought whatever they had and they shared and there was no need. Meaning they were cut to heart by the message. I long for the day guys will come and say, no, this is my Zacchaeus moment. Zacchaeus was a tax collector, had robbed people. Jesus comes to his house and what does he say? Today salvation has come. I want to return. How many times? 6 times.
All the loot that you've
stolen,
we return.
I long for KRA guys.
Oh, we hope our politicians one day will also be convicted in that manner.
I've brought back.
Right.
Fair enough. Before you finish, the National Prayer Breakfast, and we've actually started seeing pictures live from Safari Park, and it all looks very nice and white and everybody looks dignified. But we need to take a look at what has been the impact of the National Prayer Breakfast in the past. And this is something I want all of you to answer. Do you feel there has been any impact?
I'll never demean the place of prayer. Sometimes I get disappointed. Like, let me be honest with you. When I hear, oh, another National Prayer Breakfast, at a moment I go like that. Because I'm really hoping that a week, a month later, we'd hear less of this borrowing. I remember the speaker last year. I was here last year, the National Prayer Breakfast. And there was a very powerful message, the handshake that was there, the camaraderie, the friendly, the will, let's stop. And 1 year later, I'm thinking, what exactly has just happened? And so, while I want to say, I really, really appreciate the fact that we can come together, because the Bible is clear that if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and turn from, we fail sometimes, we come and pray, but we turn away from our wickedness. God will heal this land if we turn away from our evil ways. And that for me is my prayer today. As we go for another prayer breakfast, can we take the flag and be willing to turn away from our wickedness even as we pray?
Okay, Sujata, what are your thoughts on this? I'm sure this is not the first prayer breakfast you've heard about. Do you think there's any impact?
Even I attended.
You attended?
I attended many. Even now, from here, I'm going there.
You're going there. So what has been achieved in the past, and why are you going there?
You know, it is showing our unity. With the president, we are praying for the country. Yeah, as voters, we elected them as the leaders. Yeah, we are praying with them, and we say, Janani Janma Bhumi Cha Swargadapi Kariyasi. Mother and the motherland, the nation, is the same. You know, it's we respect the mother and as well the nation also. So we want to protect our mother. Yeah, we'll respect our mother. So as the nation.
Are you allowed to complain against your mother?
No, we don't complain. So we don't complain about.
Okay.
No, we don't complain. That's what I'm telling. You know, we give respect to our nation also. You know, mother and the motherland is the nation is higher than the heaven. Yeah. So we always want to protect our mother, we want to respect our mother, so no complaints. Only the complaints about the leaders.
Okay.
So we want to progress the nation. So our leaders, if they change little bit, then we'll progress.
So we can protest against the leaders while still not protesting against the mother, which is Kenya in this case.
Kenya, yes. Okay, yes, Kenya. Of course, Kenya.
Sheikh, significance, impact?
Now, Wahiga, let me begin by saying the significance of prayer. You know, when you turn to God, it shows your humility, and also you appreciate that there is a power bigger than you, and you need the intervention of that power, which is very good. And like if I quote the Quran, we are ordered actually to pray. And it's a sign of pride not to pray to God. When you're praying to God, you're showing humility. We're told in the Quran, Udu'uni astajib lakum. Pray to me, and I will answer you. But Are we doing this prayer just as a formality? Are we just there for, I heard you saying here, I can see people dress very nicely and the rest. Are we going there with sincerity? Because prayer has to be accompanied with sincerity. If you're just doing it as a formality, for me it's not a prayer. It's just a gathering of people. So I would want to call upon our people, as you're praying to God, be sincere that we are praying to God. And that's not enough. People are gathering at Safari Park. God is not only at Safari Park. God is everywhere. What I expect from the president to the lowest person sitting there, can you take the spirit of that prayer from Safari Park to your office, so that when you're entrusted with public funds, you remember that prayer and the God you are praying there. And God will not change a people, Wahiga, until the people, they themselves change. So it's good we turn to God, but God is also watching. Are we sincere in our prayers, or just doing it for the cameras? And after that, does it end with that gathering in Safari Park, or we carry that to wherever we go? You here at the media, remember always, before you open your mouth to tell people, is this something that is good for the country or not? As a leader entrusted with the resources of this country, am I able to manage them sincerely with the fear of God? Then the prayer will have a meaning. Otherwise, it will just be a formality, one year just after another, and we will not see the results of this prayer. So sincerity and also action after that, the right action that pleases God.
Who do you think the leaders there are praying for? Are they praying for ordinary Kenyans?
I think they're praying for themselves. I think some of them are praying for themselves, those in power now and those who intend to be in power in future. They're praying for themselves. They should be more thinking about that person walking from Kibera every day to industrial area. These children who don't have anybody to teach. People who are dying because of hunger, not because we don't have food in this country, it's just because there is inequitable distribution of the resources in this country. They should be praying for that, and they should be praying for themselves. Before they die, they do the right thing. I think I need to tell them that, I think we should pray for them so that God touches them so that they can change their ways.
Okay. Sujata, what would you want to see President Uhuru Kenyatta addressing in this year's National Prayer Breakfast? What concerns, what topics would you want to see or hear the President addressing?
You know, at least 3 basic needs.
Okay.
The shelter, the food. You know, the children, they have to go to the schools. There is the basic right. The education is the basic right. And the shelter, the home, and at least the food.
So yours is shelter, food, and education.
Yeah.
Reverend?
Fear of God. My brother said the fear of God simply means that you reach a point where you realize we cannot have this constant posing and posture as Christians praying, and yet we are not ready to do the necessary action that brings that change. And so I want to see the leaders challenging themselves, that from here today, when I go back to my office, like my brother said, and someone lands 40 million in my my desk to try and blind me to do the wrong thing, that I would say, I'm sorry, I'm not doing it.
So like corruption as well?
Corruption, yes. Because so that we are conscious of our action. That for me is where we are.
That's one of your concerns. There is a feeling though that as you dignified religious leaders sit here and complain that when you are next to these leaders,
we don't.
And if it's not you, it's those who are within the same religious setup as you, that you completely change. That you don't take that opportunity to tell these leaders what you really feel. What role have religious institutions played in any failures that are witnessed in this country? Do you have regret sometimes when you think about, I wish we as Christians, we as Hindus, we as Muslims had spoken earlier, had said this to these leaders? Has that happened for any of you?
I think, Wahiga, as you rightly put it, I think we have not played our role right. And especially when we come face to face with these leaders, instead of telling them what we think is wrong, we keep quiet. Yet, if I speak for my religion, we are told that the best jihad, I know when I talk about the word jihad, people think about actually when you're striving against evil, that is called jihad. And in the teachings of the Quran, we are told the best jihad, the best struggle is telling the truth to a tyrant leader. Now, do we tell our leaders the truth? What I see, even myself and my people in my circles, when we meet the behind the backs of the leaders, we might talk. But when we meet them, do we correct them? And I don't mean that we should disrespect them. With the respect, do we tell them, Mr. President, Mr. Member of Parliament, Mr. Governor, we think what you're doing is ungodly. You're a Christian, you're a Muslim. you're a Hindu, you're not supposed to do this and that. I think we have failed there. Instead, we are full of praises for them when we stand up. So I think also we need to talk to we need to talk to ourselves.
Why do you think, you said when you or other religious leaders meet these leaders,
yes,
you keep quiet?
Yes.
Is it fear? Is it awe? Is it feeling that you'll spoil your chances of future promotion? What would cause a religious leader to keep quiet in the presence of a political leader, and yet you serve a higher master?
I think it's a combination of all that, and you end up now forgetting your role, that you're supposed to be guiding this person, you know?
Yes.
You're supposed to be guiding this person and telling him this is right, this is wrong. I think it's that. And also, here is the president. How can I correct the president? Yet the president needs spiritual guidance. After all, they come to you for prayers.
Right.
Yeah, I've seen some very senior politicians here being immersed in water by religious leaders. Yeah, you're told to dress this way, hold your nose, and you're put in water. That shows you who is bigger here, the religious leader. When they have a problem, I see them kneeling down before religious leaders and weeping in church. Meaning what? The religious leaders are supposed to hold their hands and guide them, but we've forgotten that.
Sujata, has the Hindu community also forgotten to call out our politicians when they do wrong, just as the Sheikh has said he's spoken for his religion?
You know, as a Hindu religion, as the good citizens of the country, if any problem is there, I don't know, I don't say we are the first ones, we are there for the relief and welfare. Any small problems, even if the D2 it has happened, we were the first ones, we went to the MP share to serve the people. Even leaders, we cannot tell the leaders, you do this, do that. But we only pray. They have to have this, you know, ceiling on desires. They are having so many desires. At least to control their desires, to listen to their inner voice. You know, everyone have their inner voice. They know even they are taking the money, the inner voice is telling that, you know, don't do that. If they listen to the inner voice, don't, you know, imitate others. If someone is taking that money or something they are doing, don't imitate, because they are building the houses, they are doing the money, and there are some in Swiss banks and this. Don't imitate. Please listen to your inner voice. And please, you know, it is the leadership has come. It is not everyone's cup, this one. It is the, you know, the leader, we have selected him. Only God has selected them. So do their duties.
Do the duties. Okay. Before we switch gears, because there's another issue we want to talk about that Zinzi will be introducing shortly, the issue of a generation that is afraid to speak out. You know, we remember religious leaders in previous years who were very vocal when they felt that the state was not handling matters well. And yesterday on JK Live was actually live from Washington, D.C., where Miguna, a lawyer, a political activist, was speaking to Jeff Koinange. They spoke on a cross-section of issues. It was a very long interview. They went for about an hour and a couple of minutes as well. But there's one issue that Miguna spoke about, that a lot of Kenyans tweeted about. Yeah. They spoke about as well. I don't know if we have that clip ready, but if we do, we can just play it and then get a reaction from our leaders here. Are we now at a point in our nation where men and women need to rise up and speak out when they feel that things are not going right? If we have that clip, we can play it now.
Passport was sent to you today, Miguna. Would you come back?
I told you I would be there on Friday. Do it, and you will see. You see, those saying, go to Ottawa and get the passport. Passports are printed in Nairobi, not Ottawa. Ottawa is under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, not Interior. The Immigration Department is in Interior. They print passports. And the ambassador is, as we were talking, you know, just a few minutes ago, the position is less than that of a director. They don't make decisions. So if they courier the passport to the embassy, I will pick it up.
But you, Miguna, don't you fear coming back? Don't you fear?
No, because I don't fear death.
You don't?
Jeff, unlike you, I don't fear death. What are you fearing? Jeff, you are over 50. You have a child. You have a beautiful wife. You have made a mark. If you die today, people will know what your life was. What are you afraid of? We are going to die one day. Die for something meaningful. Die for a cause. Right? Yeah. So, of course, if I die for a cause, I would be very proud of myself. Like Chris Hani, like Tom Mboya, like Martin Luther King, like Malcolm X.
Reverend, you've been smiling as you listen to that. And each religion teaches us that beyond death there is a place you will go to. Of course, we followed the teachings of that particular religion. But Miguna seems like a man who has his own set of convictions.
That's right.
Again, I want to compare this with what we saw in the past when religious leaders would stand up and speak almost unafraid of what would happen to them. What is missing now?
You know, as I hear Miguna, I'm just thinking about a statement. Once, someone once said, there comes a time. You know, it's easy to sit in the couch, in the comfort of our room sometimes, and complain. But it reaches a point whereby we must get sick and tired of getting sick and tired. And when I hear him saying, I'm not afraid of death, have we reached that point of elasticity where you're saying, you know what, I'll not watch my children, our grandchildren, pay these debts. And when I hear that the next child being born in Kenya has a debt on their head, does it worry me that my grandchildren are going to pay on account of our lack of prudence or integrity? And so for me, that is where I would join him in the cry. His approach sometimes can be very abrasive. May not be, I know there are times when the way you say something determines what the other party hears. But yes, there is every need for us to ask ourselves, what did those leaders you're talking about, what made them become so ferocious on their pulpits, fiery as it were, to be able to come out and say, you know, guys, this is wrong. We can't afford to lose that momentum. And I'm glad that we are here on this table this morning. This is one of those outlets that we must say that, you know, as a church, I want to apologize also that there are many times I've sat with politicians next to me, and the power and might that comes with it, I am so scared that I can't even speak. Do we fear man more than God? We need to fear God.
We need to fear God. You spoke about ferocious leaders. Mahatma Gandhi was a ferocious leader. He was able to speak. There goes my pen.
Ferocious.
I don't know, I'm also being ferocious. He was able to speak out against the issues that he considered were important in society, against a lot of resistance. What did he have? What can we learn about people like that?
It is the trust. How to do as a citizen, as a good citizen. We don't wait for the leaders to do. As a citizen, what is my duty? How to do my duty also, to pay the taxes, the timely taxes, and, you know, to protect the environment, whatever it is there. As a good citizen, how to do my duty first. Yeah.
That is very important.
Do you think Kenyans are ready to die for a cause greater than themselves? I'm sure you also what happened in South Sudan, weeks of revolution. They said it wasn't even leaders, it was citizens. They came out and said enough is enough. Are Kenyans ready to die for something greater than themselves, just to make sure we leave Kenya a better place for our children to inherit?
I think some children, now the Kenyans also, they are changing, you know, because we attend all these inter-religious council the meetings and things. The change is slowly coming. They are also saying, yes, this is my right, this is my duty. I have also my right, this is the one, how to take it.
Okay.
So
are Kenyans passionate enough to go to the streets and request for what they deserve?
Yeah, I think we are not yet there yet, but I think I'm a little bit older to tell you that we've come a long way. There is a time when Higa, long before you were born, we could not be talking the way we are talking about leaders. Today we have that space. Unfortunately, we Kenyans have not been able to exploit that, make use of that space that we have. And I think it's a question of conviction. Wahiga, you've been asking about Mahatma Gandhi and all these other leaders, even here, Bishop Okulu, even the late Gitari and the rest, whom we work together at Ufungamano. These are people who were convinced that they have a duty, you know, that conviction that this is something that it's worth sacrificing everything I have for the sake of the future. And I want to believe, if we go by the history of this country, some people had to sacrifice something, even their lives, for us to be independent today. So I think what we are lacking is that. Again, we do not appreciate that we have that space and then make use of it. That is the problem that we have. And let me speak again now from my religious tradition. We are told that whoever sees an evil amongst you, and this is a directive from the religion, then you must change it. But how? All of us do not have the same capacities. Those who are able to bring change using their hand, and those are the people in power. People like Nuruddin, like Kinoti, and those who have been given office to make sure they fight all these evils, then they have to use the powers we have given them. For those who are not able, use the word of mouth. Bishop, you have that pulpit there. I have that mimbar, we call it the mimbar in the mosque. You have that synagogue there, or the temple there. We need to use that. And the weakest of all is, and you have also the media. You people.
Which is a
big one.
The big
so
one
all
now.
of us, I think, each one of
There are
us,
millions.
again, we need to accept that we have a duty. Unfortunately, when we sit back and say, it's not my problem, somebody else is going to solve the problem.
Yes.
I think this is where we go wrong. I think each one should say, it begins with me. It begins with me. Let me do my part. Zizi is just sitting here, say, let me do my part, and then we do our parts. I think we need that conviction. But I am yearning, I'm really longing for those days when the Kivuda Kibwanas of this world were out there, when the Joyas of this world were out there fighting for the rights, and the guitarists. Where are the new guitarists? We need those new guitarists
to think about.
Okay,
Yes.
so we need to take a quick commercial break, pay a few bills, but before we do that, a lot of feedback has been coming through our SMS and our Twitter handles. We want to take a look at that right now, take a commercial break, and then come back with a few comments from our religious leaders. So let's do that. On SMS, Ahmed, you're watching from Mombasa, you say, I wish our leaders address the following: corruption, economy, and tribalism/nepotism.
All right, let's take a look at another SMS. A comment from Eldred. Prayers anywhere and anytime are welcome. It becomes an eyesore when our politicians who have deliberately abandoned the agenda of the vulnerable make a vintage appearance at church prayers. All religions are very clear about prioritizing the needs of the vulnerable. Our legislators recently awarded themselves a hefty house allowance with impunity as many Kenyans face the brink. They need our prayers instead. Okay.
All right, Nixon, you say the church does not advocate divorce/separation, citing that God hates it, but I wish it would advise on the contrary.
Kukiharibika. When things go wrong in a house, can people separate rather than doing what we are seeing right now? I think that's what we're asking, Nixon. We'll get a response from you, Reverend, after the break. Okay, Francis Kigondo, religious and social pressure to maintain relationships that are abusive because divorce or separation is condemned is a major problem. Religious leaders must inform couples it is better to break up than to abuse or kill. This is in response to something we were discussing a bit earlier on, and this is via Twitter.
All right. Now on Twitter, hashtag Daybreak is our hashtag. No matter the annual national prayers happening in our country, billions of money have been lost to cartels, compromised of government officials, when ordinary people are dying because of hunger. All right, so the issue there of priority.
All right, the Ngosi, if the clergy is this frustrated about the state of the nation, how much more the citizens? Why? I'm ready to word for word, okay?
Lazaro, good morning. You say not only domestic violence, moral decay in the society on the rise because churches left their core duty of teaching holy words of Christ a long time ago for money. This is where the devil gets the loopholes. I'm sure this is in regards to our earlier conversation, or the family, the basic element of society.
Good. Amesema toa ubarikiwe is the new gospel, and he feels it's a reason why the country finds itself where it is right now. I know our guests want to react to some of those SMSs. We'll give them a chance to do this after this short break. You're watching Daybreak. We'll be right back.